While much of the basketball world was busy debating a narrow Indiana Fever loss, something far more important was happening hundreds of miles away in Texas. A man named Curt Miller was watching his vision come to life. While fans argued about officiating, coaching decisions, and missed opportunities, Miller's Dallas Wings were accomplishing something almost nobody thought possible. Within the span of a single week, they defeated the last two WNBA champions, first taking down the New York Liberty and then knocking off the defending champion Las Vegas Aces. Think about that for a moment. 2 championship teams. 2 statement victories. 1 rapidly rising franchise. And the architect behind it all is Curt Miller. The irony is impossible to ignore. While the spotlight remains fixed on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, another organization has quietly built one of the most promising young cores in professional basketball. A team that nobody was talking about just months ago is suddenly becoming one of the most dangerous teams in the league. The Dallas Wings didn't arrive here by accident. This was years in the making. Against Las Vegas, the Wings delivered another statement performance. The Aces entered the game with one of the most talented rosters in basketball, led by superstar Io Wilson. As expected, Wilson put together a strong performance and did everything possible to keep her team in the game. It wasn't enough. The biggest story of the night belonged to rookie sensation Azzi Fudd. Making the first start of her professional career, she played with confidence far beyond her years, pouring in 22 points and proving exactly why she was selected with the first overall pick. But she wasn't alone. Jessica Shepard delivered one of the most remarkable performances basketball fans will see all season. She finished with 22 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists, recording an incredible triple-double while dominating every area of the floor. Those numbers are rare. Those numbers are historic. Meanwhile, Paige Bueckers added another 20 points, continuing to show why she has quickly become one of the league's brightest young stars. What made the victory even more impressive was the way it unfolded. Dallas spent much of the game trailing. The defending champions seemed in control for long stretches, and many teams would have folded under that pressure. The Wings didn't. Instead, they kept fighting. Possession by possession, they chipped away at the deficit. Jessica Shepard helped spark the comeback, making crucial plays that shifted momentum. Eventually Dallas grabbed the lead, and once they did, they never looked back. Then came the dagger. A huge shot from Paige Bueckers extended the lead and effectively ended any hopes of an Aces comeback. The defending champions suddenly found themselves without answers as Dallas closed the game with confidence and maturity beyond their years. The most impressive part? Many of the players leading this surge weren't even on the roster a couple of seasons ago. Yet they play together like a group that has shared years of experience. The chemistry is real. The belief is real. And the results are becoming impossible to ignore. Just 1 year ago, Dallas struggled badly against Las Vegas, losing 5 consecutive matchups. They couldn't solve the Aces. They couldn't compete consistently with the league's elite teams. Today, that reality has completely changed. This isn't a lucky stretch. This isn't a random hot streak. This is what happens when a long-term plan starts working exactly as intended. And that's where Curt Miller enters the story. Long before Dallas became one of the league's most exciting young teams, Miller had already built a reputation as one of basketball's sharpest minds. His resume speaks for itself. He's a 2-time WNBA Coach of the Year. He was also named the league's first ever Executive of the Year when the award was introduced. Before reaching the professional level, he spent more than a decade building a powerhouse program at Bowling Green, winning hundreds of games and earning multiple Coach of the Year honors. Success has followed him throughout his career. Yet when Dallas hired him, many people barely noticed. The Wings were coming off difficult seasons. Expectations were low. Most fans viewed the move as just another rebuilding attempt. Curt Miller saw something different. He saw an opportunity. Instead of chasing quick fixes, he focused on building a foundation that could compete for years. The strategy was simple. Acquire elite talent. Develop chemistry. Build for the future. And then trust the process. Over consecutive seasons, Dallas secured the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Miller used those opportunities wisely. First came Paige Bueckers, one of the most celebrated college players in recent memory. A national champion, a superstar, and a player capable of transforming a franchise. Then came Azzi Fudd. Another elite prospect. Another championship winner. Another cornerstone piece. The two former Connecticut teammates who dominated college basketball were reunited in Dallas, giving the franchise a dynamic young backcourt with enormous potential. But Miller wasn't finished. He continued adding talent around them, bringing in players who fit the vision and complemented the team's young stars. Every move served a purpose. Every decision moved the organization closer to contention. Now the results are beginning to show. Just 2 years ago, Dallas finished with a miserable 10-30 record. 10 wins, 30 losses. One of the worst records in the league. Today, they're beating championship teams and establishing themselves as one of the fastest rising organizations in women's basketball. That's not luck. That's leadership. That's development. And most importantly, that's the result of a plan executed perfectly. While much of the basketball world continues focusing on today's headlines, Curt Miller and the Dallas Wings are building something that could shape the future of the WNBA for years to come. The rest of the league is finally starting to notice. And if this young roster keeps improving at its current pace, the biggest story in basketball may no longer be who gets the attention. It may be who lifts the trophy when the season is over. Building a championship team isn't about making one flashy move. It's about making the right moves repeatedly, even when nobody notices. Every successful franchise eventually reaches a moment where patience is tested. Decisions are questioned. Fans demand immediate results. Critics call the process a failure before it has time to work. Curt Miller lived through that phase. Now the payoff is arriving. And if you're an Indiana Fever fan, that's exactly what should concern you. Because the foundation Dallas has built isn't designed to compete for one season. It's built to compete for years. The most dangerous part of this story isn't that the Wings are already beating championship teams. It's that their best players are still incredibly young. Paige Bueckers is just getting started. Azzi Fudd is just beginning her professional career. The chemistry between them is still developing. Their ceiling remains largely untapped. That's what makes this roster so intimidating. Dallas isn't peaking. They're growing. And they're winning while they grow. That's a nightmare scenario for the rest of the league. Most championship contenders eventually face difficult choices. Salary cap pressure arrives. Veterans age. Key players leave. Windows begin to close. Dallas appears to be heading in the opposite direction. Their core is young. Their stars are developing. Their confidence is growing with every major victory. Most importantly, they already look capable of competing with the league's elite teams. Compare that situation to what has been happening in Indiana. The Fever possess one of the greatest young talents basketball has ever seen in Caitlin Clark. She continues rewriting record books at a historic pace. Recently, Clark became the fastest player ever to reach major milestones in both scoring and assists, accomplishing feats that took previous stars years longer to achieve. Yet despite those accomplishments, championships remain the ultimate goal. And that's where the conversation becomes uncomfortable. Individual greatness can only carry a team so far. Eventually, every superstar needs the right roster around them. Every championship banner in basketball history tells the same story. No player wins alone. While Dallas spent recent years stacking elite talent around its future stars, Indiana has often found itself searching for answers. Questions about rotations. Questions about coaching decisions. Questions about offensive identity. Questions about who should take control in critical moments. Meanwhile, Dallas quietly kept building. That's the difference between headlines and foundations. One creates attention. The other creates contenders. And right now, the Wings look like a franchise that understands exactly where it's going. The challenge facing Indiana becomes even more difficult when you zoom out and examine the entire league landscape. The road to a championship isn't getting easier. It's becoming more crowded. The Las Vegas Aces remain dangerous as long as Aya Wilson is leading the way. The defending champion New York Liberty still possess one of the strongest cores in professional basketball. The talent level across the league continues to rise every season. Veteran contenders aren't disappearing. New contenders are emerging. And Dallas may be the most important new challenger of them all. That's what makes the Wings' recent victories so significant. They didn't beat rebuilding teams. They didn't beat struggling opponents. They defeated champions. Back to back. Those wins announced something important to the rest of the basketball world. Dallas is no longer building for the future. The future has arrived. And that's exactly what Curt Miller envisioned. Years ago, he inherited a struggling organization. A team that finished near the bottom of the standings. A franchise searching for direction. Today, that same franchise is becoming one of the most intriguing teams in the sport. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It happened through planning, scouting, player development, patience. Most organizations talk about culture. Dallas appears to be creating one. That's why Miller's career history matters. The people who consistently build winners tend to leave clues behind. Look closely at his resume and you see a pattern. Success follows him. At the college level, he won hundreds of games. At the professional level, he earned multiple Coach of the Year honors. As an executive, he developed a reputation for identifying talent and creating competitive rosters. Very few people in basketball have succeeded in every role they've held. Miller belongs in that group. In fact, women's basketball history includes only a tiny number of leaders who have achieved major success both at the collegiate level and in the WNBA. One of those names is Curt Miller. Another is Lynn Dunn. Indiana fans know that name well. Dunn helped build the Fever team that captured the franchise's only championship. That title remains one of the greatest achievements in Indiana basketball history. It's an interesting connection. One legendary builder helped bring a championship to Indiana. Another may now be constructing one of the biggest obstacles standing in the way of the Fever's next championship. That's not criticism. It's reality. Championship races don't care about narratives. They care about talent, depth, execution, and timing. Right now, Dallas is improving in all four areas. Which brings us back to Caitlin Clark. She remains the biggest attraction in women's basketball. Every arena fills when she arrives. Every television appearance draws attention. Every performance becomes a national conversation. The spotlight follows her everywhere. And deservedly so. She's changing the sport. She's inspiring a new generation of fans. She's producing historic performances at an age when most players are still learning the professional game. But there is a hidden challenge that comes with being the center of attention. When everyone is watching you, they sometimes fail to notice what's happening around you. That's where organizations like Dallas become dangerous. While cameras focus elsewhere, progress continues. While debates dominate headlines, foundations grow stronger. While fans argue about today's problems, smart front offices prepare for tomorrow's opportunities. Curt Miller understands that better than most. That's why the Wings suddenly look like one of the league's most important stories. Not because they've arrived at the top. Because they're still climbing. And they're climbing faster than almost anyone expected. For Indiana, the question isn't whether Caitlin Clark is talented enough to lead a championship team. That answer is obvious. The real question is whether the organization can build a championship-caliber roster around her before the competition becomes overwhelming. Because championship windows don't stay open forever. Every season matters. Every offseason matters. Every roster decision matters. And while much of the basketball world continues focusing on Caitlin Clark's incredible rise, another story is quietly unfolding in Texas. A franchise is getting younger. A roster is getting deeper. A contender is getting stronger. And the man responsible for it all has spent years proving he knows exactly how to build a winner. The rest of the league is finally starting to notice. Indiana may need to do the same.